He looked me in the eye, Amelia, and it was like staring at my own reflection at 12. You really thought I'd never notice? Jayden stopped in the hallway, one hand still on the glass door. He wasn't supposed to hear that. The coffee cup slipped from Amelia's fingers and shattered on the conference room floor, fragments catching the light like truth, breaking wide open. Carter Hayes hadn't raised his voice. He didn't need to. His words were scalpels. "I didn't lie," Amelia said, her throat tight. Carter took a step forward. "You didn't tell the truth either. That's the same thing. 12 years of silence. 12 years of decisions made in the dark. And now, they were here. Jayden, brilliant, curious Jayden, had shaken his father's hand 10 minutes ago on a gala stage, unaware. Unaware that the man with the perfect smile and the billion-dollar name was his father. "I was protecting him," she whispered. Carter's expression hardened. "No, you were protecting yourself. From me." Outside the room, the crowd still buzzed from the gala. Cameras, applause, a scholarship awarded, a legacy touched. But in here, everything was falling apart. Before we get to how I ended up face to face with the man I never thought I'd see again, the man who never knew he had a son, I need you to understand something. If you've ever had to choose between truth and survival, if you've ever kept a secret because you were afraid it might destroy what little you had left, then this story, my story, is yours too. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. I've missed you all so much. It's been a tough ride with some technical issues, but by God's grace, we're getting everything back on track. Thank you for sticking with me. Your support means everything. Before we begin, I want to say a little prayer over everyone watching, especially the women. To the women, may God strengthen you, comfort you, and fill your heart with peace and favor. To the men, may God guide you, bless your efforts, and give you wisdom in all you do. And may God's protection rest on every single one of you. Amen. If you're ready for today's story, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. My USA and UK family, I see you. And please watch till the end, because tomorrow I'll be dropping another story you wouldn't want to miss. Now, let's get into the story. It started 3 weeks earlier in a cramped apartment on the south side of Chicago, with a letter I almost didn't open. The day had been long, longer than usual. The cold fluorescent lights at Mariano's had a way of flickering when they were about to burn out, and I'd spent most of my shift trying to ignore them. My feet were killing me, and my mind kept circling back to whether there was enough chicken left in the fridge to make a second meal for Jayden. The quiet hum of the freezer was the only comfort, the only thing reminding me I wasn't entirely alone in this concrete box we called home. I shoved the key into the front door and stepped inside, the familiar smell of stale air and cheap coffee greeting me. Jayden was sitting at the kitchen table, pencil in hand, furiously working through a set of math problems. The small glow of the lamp reflected in his glasses, making him look so much older than his 12 years. He had always been like that, all focus, all heart, so effortlessly brilliant that it hurt to look at him sometimes. "Hey, baby," I called softly as I kicked off my shoes and sank into the worn-out couch. "Hey, Mom," Jayden mumbled, not looking up. "I think I've figured out a new pattern in prime numbers. It doesn't make sense, but I think it works. Can you look at this?" I smiled despite myself. Of course, he'd already solved something I couldn't even begin to understand. I had stopped pretending to keep up with his genius long ago. "I'll take a look in a minute," I said, rubbing my sore feet. I walked to the mailbox just inside the door, planning to sort through the usual stack of bills and junk. But there was one envelope that stood out. Cream-colored. Heavy. It felt thick between my fingers, almost too thick for the kind of generic letters that normally came. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the letterhead. Hayes STEM Initiative. My eyes locked onto the name. Carter Hayes. The words blurred, my breath catching in my throat. For a moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. Carter. The man I had left behind. The man whose name I'd erased from my life, and from Jayden's, over a decade ago. I stared at the envelope like it was a bomb waiting to explode. My fingers trembled as I held it, the weight of it sinking into me like the first drop of rain before a storm. I should have thrown it away. I should have burned it before I ever saw it. But my hands moved on their own, and before I knew it, the envelope was open. The letter read, "Dear Ms. Amelia Brooks, we are pleased to inform you that your son, Jayden Brooks, has been selected as one of the recipients of the 2025 Hayes STEM Initiative Scholarship." I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the words. My eyes scanned the page, but my mind couldn't process it. Jayden had won the scholarship. The full scholarship. Everything. Tuition, books, supplies, the whole 9 yards. The kind of education I could never afford, no matter how many hours I worked at that grocery store. The kind of future that could change his life. I thought back to the application. It had been a long shot. Yasegi had helped Jayden fill it out on a whim, never imagining something like this would happen. The idea of him getting into something like that was so far out of my reach that I hadn't dared to dream it. But now, here it was. A full scholarship to a program that could give him everything I couldn't. But there was that name again. Carter Hayes, the founder of the program. The man whose last name Jayden carried, and the father I had kept from him. The father he had never met. For the first time in 12 years, the walls I'd built between us felt like they were about to collapse. I had spent so long trying to protect Jayden from a past that should have never existed. But now, that past was knocking at my door, and with it, everything I had tried so hard to bury. The letter kept shaking in my hands like it was burning me. I forced myself to breathe, but the panic was already creeping in, tightening around my chest. What was I supposed to do now? How could I tell Jayden the truth? The truth I had kept hidden from him for his entire life? A voice came from behind me, breaking my trance. "Mom?" I turned. Jayden was standing at the table now, watching me with those wide eyes of his, the same eyes that Carter had. That realization hit me like a punch in the stomach. "Yeah, baby?" I forced a smile, but it felt like a lie. He walked over, his voice quieter this time. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't know how to explain it to him. How could I? He deserved the truth, but I wasn't ready to face it myself. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my hands. It's nothing, Jayden. Just some paperwork. Nothing to worry about." But I was lying. To him and to myself. I set the letter down on the counter, my eyes lingering on it for a moment longer. The decision was out of my hands now. I could try to ignore it, run from it. But I knew that this, Carter, the scholarship, Jayden's future, would find its way to the surface. And when it did, there would be no going back. If you've ever opened something that felt like hope and fear all at once, you already know why I need to finish this story. Later that night, after Jayden had gone to bed and the apartment fell into its usual heavy silence, I sat on the edge of our couch, with the letter still clutched in my hand. The lamp buzzed in the corner. I hadn't moved in over an hour. I should have known it was his, but I guess a part of me believed I'd buried that name deep enough to never see it resurface. I opened my laptop with shaking fingers and typed it into the search bar. Carter Hayes. And there he was. Image after image. The world knew him now. A billionaire tech mogul, founder of Hayes Tech, philanthropist, keynote speaker at TED conferences and Forbes summits. He wore polished suits and sharp watches now. His jawline was stronger, his shoulders broader. The boy I remembered was gone. But those eyes, they hadn't changed. Amber and unreadable. The same ones Jayden saw in the mirror every morning. I clicked a video. Innovation isn't just about what we build. It's about who we build it for, Carter said on stage, his voice deeper now, but still unmistakable. My throat tightened. I remembered that voice, whispering promises in my ear when he still wore hand-me-down sneakers and talked about algorithms like poetry. We were both broke then, dreaming of a future that felt so far away. And then his startup idea came. Wild, risky. He begged me to stick by him while he threw everything into building it. But I was pregnant, and he didn't know. So I left. No goodbye, no confession, no hint of what I was carrying. I moved across the city, changed my number, took my mother's last name, and disappeared. I told myself I was protecting him, that if he failed, a baby would have crushed him, that if he succeeded, he didn't need the burden of a kid holding him down. I was protecting him, wasn't I? The words echoed in my head as I reached for the second page of the letter. All recipients are required to attend the Hayes STEM Gala. Formal attire, no exceptions. I exhaled slowly, but the dread stayed lodged in my chest. There was no way out of this. The thrift store smelled like dust and old dreams. Jayden stood in front of the mirror in a gray suit that was one size too big. He tugged at the sleeves while I pinned the hem of the pants with my fingers crossed behind my back, praying they'd hold through the night. "It's kind of itchy," he said, fidgeting. "But I think I look cool." "You look very cool," I said, forcing a smile. We'd spent the last week preparing like it was a school play. Except this wasn't pretend. The gala was real. The stage, the lights, the people. And somewhere behind it all, Carter. At home, I borrowed a black dress from my coworker Janelle. It fit just enough. The neckline dipped too low, the shoes pinched, but it was the best I could do without explaining why I needed it. I didn't explain anymore, not to anyone. Jayden didn't stop talking all week. He was bouncing off the walls with the kind of excitement only a 12-year-old genius could carry. "Mom, did you know Carter Hayes published his first machine learning paper at 24? That's insane. I read it twice. Do you think he'll be there? I want to ask about his AI patent on predictive diagnostics." I laughed, even though my stomach twisted. "Sweetheart, men like that don't show up at these things. They just sign the checks and send someone else to smile for the pictures." "But the news says he's been more hands-on lately," Jayden said, squinting through his glasses. "He even visited a middle school last month in New York." I turned away, pretending to sort through receipts on the counter. I couldn't look at him. "You really think someone like him's going to remember one scholarship kid out of hundreds?" I said, too sharply. Jayden went quiet. "I guess not." I hated myself for snapping. He didn't know the weight I was carrying, how each thread in that too big suit was stitched with a secret, how every step we took toward that ballroom was a step closer to a truth that could shatter everything. And still, I zipped up his jacket, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "You're going to be amazing." The Grand Lexington Hotel sparkled like something out of a dream Jayden once had. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, champagne bubbling in glass towers. I had never felt so out of place in my life. Jayden squeezed my hand as we stepped into the ballroom. "Is this real?" he whispered, his eyes wide. I smiled, my jaw tight. As real as it gets. We were seated near the front, too close to the stage for my liking. Around us, camera crews adjusted lighting, foundation board members air-kissed and shook hands, and waiters in white gloves passed trays I didn't dare touch. Jayden sat ramrod straight in his slightly oversized suit, clutching his award packet. "Do you think he's here?" he asked. "Carter Hayes?" "I doubt it," I replied, my voice too even. "Men like that don't—" The lights dimmed. A hush fell across the crowd as a woman in a sequined gown took the stage. "Good evening, and welcome to the annual Hayes STEM Gala." Polite applause followed. I tried to focus on breathing. This year, we're honored to have a very special guest. For the first time, the founder of the initiative is joining us in person. The room stirred. No, 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 no. "Please welcome Mr. Carter Hayes." The applause erupted. My heartbeat did too. He stepped onto the stage like he owned it. Because he did. Black tuxedo, crisp white shirt, silver at his temples now. But the eyes? The eyes hadn't changed. I felt Jayden sit up straighter. "That's him," he whispered, awestruck. Carter approached the podium, smiling with practiced charm. "Tonight, we celebrate innovation. These young minds are the future." I've read every application myself. Of course he had. Names began flashing on the screen. One by one, students were called. When they stepped on stage, the cameras split their faces with Carter's side by side. Then, next up, Jayden Brooks. Jayden jumped to his feet. I couldn't move. He walked on stage, grinning, reached out to shake Carter's hand. And Carter saw him. Really saw him. The smile faltered. His hand froze up midair. Split screen. Jayden's face. Carter's face. Identical. The entire ballroom went silent. Sometimes protecting someone means hiding them. But what happens when they no longer want to be hidden? Carter's hand hung in the air for a second too long. The cameras didn't catch it, but I did. Then, like someone flipped a switch, his smile snapped back into place. Not the warm, practiced kind he'd given the other kids. This one was colder. Controlled. Jayden stepped forward, completely unaware. He reached out and shook Carter's hand with that excited, eager grip he always used when he met someone he admired. "It's such an honor to meet you, Mr. Hayes," Jayden said. "I've read your 2019 paper on autonomous machine learning models. It changed how I look at data clusters." Carter blinked. "Thank you," he said, voice low. Then, after a beat, "How old are you, Jayden?" 12, Jayden replied proudly. "My birthday was in April." Something flickered in Carter's eyes. "And your parents?" he asked, too casually. "Anyone here with you tonight?" Jayden turned and pointed toward me. "Just my mom. She raised me. She says my dad was, complicated." He even laughed a little, like it was a joke we shared. My lungs stopped working. I felt every eye in the room shift in my direction. Carter followed his finger. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, the stage, the lights, the glittering room, it all fell away. He knew. Maybe not everything, maybe not yet, but enough. The resemblance, the age, the name, my face, his, Jayden. Whispers started rippling through the ballroom like smoke. A woman leaned in to whisper something to her husband. A man 2 tables over pulled out his phone. Jayden, still glowing, took his award folder and walked back toward me, proud as ever. "Mom," he whispered, sliding into his seat. He knew who I was. "Did you see how surprised he looked?" I nodded. Barely. On stage, Carter continued handing out awards, but his rhythm was off. His lines rehearsed, but his eyes kept drifting. Back to our table. Back to me. He didn't just suspect. He knew. I had Jayden's coat halfway on before the applause even ended. "We're leaving now," I whispered, my voice tighter than the zipper I was yanking up. "But what about the reception?" he asked, disappointed. "They have a robotics demo?" "Not tonight." He knew better than to argue. He just nodded, his curls bobbing as he followed me towards the exit, still clutching his award folder like it was made of gold. We were 10 steps from freedom when a woman in burgundy heels stepped into our path. "Miss Brooks?" I froze. She smiled. Too polite to be friendly, too rehearsed to be optional. "Rebecca Lynn. I'm the Foundation's Director of Operations. Mr. Hayes would like a private word with you. Just a few moments. Upstairs." I shook my head instantly. "I don't think—" "He insists," she said smoothly, gesturing toward a nearby elevator with a keycard in her hand. "It won't take long." Jayden glanced up at me, confused. "Why does he want to talk to you?" I forced my lips into something resembling calm. "Just some scholarship paperwork," I lied. "Go with Rebecca. There's a lounge just outside the room. I'll be right there." Reluctantly, Jayden let go of my hand. I watched him disappear down the hallway, then stepped into the elevator alone. The ride up was silent, the kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. When the doors opened, the air changed. Colder, sleek, glass everywhere. I was suddenly aware of every borrowed thread on my body. Rebecca led me into a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of downtown Chicago that felt miles away from the world I actually lived in. Then she left. A minute later, the door opened again. Carter walked in. No security, no assistant, just him. He'd taken off his tuxedo jacket, his white shirt crisp, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His cufflinks glinted like accusation. He didn't sit, didn't greet me. His eyes never left mine. Then came the question, low and exact. "How old is he?" I didn't answer. His jaw tightened. "Don't lie." The silence between us cracked first, then Carter's voice. Sharp, quiet, and cutting. "You chose for both of us. You didn't even ask." I flinched. "I had to." "No. You decided to. You left me in the dark. You vanished." His hands were clenched at his sides, knuckles white. "Do you know how many nights I thought I screwed it all up? That maybe I said something wrong? Pushed too hard? Loved you too much?" I swallowed, guilt rising like bile. "I wasn't running from you, Carter." "Then what were you running from?" "You," I whispered, "and everything you were about to become." He stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. "I loved you," I said, the words raw now. "But you had this fire, this hunger. You were building something bigger than both of us. And I was pregnant, Carter. I found out 2 weeks after you pitched your first investor. What was I supposed to do? Clip your wings? Anchor you with a child when you could barely feed yourself?" He stepped back like I'd hit him. "So instead, you grounded him," he said bitterly. "You stole my son from me before I even knew he existed." I didn't realize I was crying until I felt it drip down my chin. "I thought I was doing the right thing," I said. "I thought I was protecting you. And him. From a life that was too heavy, too soon. You don't get to decide what I can handle. You don't get to erase my child." The door creaked behind us. We both turned. Jayden stood there, eyes wide, face pale. He looked from Carter to me and back again. "You're my dad," he said, voice barely audible. My heart cracked into 100 pieces. "Jayden," he stepped back, the award folder dropping from his hands with a soft thud. The weight of 12 years came crashing down in a single shattered second. It had been 4 days since the gala. The award folder still sat unopened on Jayden's desk. His untouched robotics kit gathered dust in the corner. No math puzzles, no questions, just silence. He barely spoke to me, barely looked at me. I gave him space, even though every inch of it carved something out of me. Carter had called twice. The third time he showed up, not with suits or promises, but with sneakers and a second-hand chessboard. "I don't know how to be a dad," he said gently, standing in our doorway. But I want to try." Jayden didn't answer, not right away. He just stared at him, eyes hard to read. Finally he asked, "Why didn't either of you tell me?" I opened my mouth. No sound came out. Carter stepped in. "Because we were scared," he admitted, "and stupid, and selfish, but mostly scared." Jayden sat down at the table. Carter followed. They opened the chessboard. No fanfare, no grand speech. Just 2 pawns moved across old wood. Later that night, Jayden found me in the kitchen, still in my work clothes, still afraid to breathe. "I don't know what to do with this," he said. "I've spent 12 years thinking I came from nothing." "You didn't," I said. He looked down. "I want to know where I come from," he whispered. "But I also want to choose who I become." I nodded, tears threatening. "You always have, baby. Always." He hugged me, tighter than he had in days. And I knew we weren't fixed. Not completely. But we were still a family. Bent, maybe, but not broken. If you've ever looked at your past and wondered if it's too late to change the story, maybe you're still writing yours too. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.